At my niece's party, my parents and sister held down my 11-year-old daughter and chopped her hair off, so she wouldn't outshine her cousin. My mom said, "Don't make a scene." I didn't. I did this. The next day, they were crying at the police station. I didn't see the scissors. I didn't see the look on her face when it happened. I didn't see them laughing or holding her down or brushing her tears away like they meant nothing. But I saw what they left behind, and I swear that was enough. I'll never forget how she looked walking out of that house. It was my niece's 12th birthday. I had to work, Saturday hospital shift, the glamorous life. So my daughter Grace, who's 11, went ahead of me. It was supposed to be harmless. A cousin's party, family. You know, the people you trust until they show you why you shouldn't. That morning, Grace was glowing. She'd been planning this for weeks. Her hair, her pride, had been washed, detangled, wrapped in a silk bonnet, and rewrapped before bed. She begged me to take her to a real salon, not the strip mall place with the fluorescent lighting and panic haircuts. A real one. I want to feel pretty. Just this once. So I picked up 2 night shifts, canceled my massage, and handed over $120. She chose the look herself, soft curls, half up, pearl pins tucked into a side braid. "Do you think Bella will like it?" she asked, fussing with a pin. Bella's my niece, Sabrina's daughter. "She'll love it," I told her. "You look beautiful." She smiled. She'd even handmade a gift, wrapped it in glitter tape. I dropped her off, kissed her goodbye, and went back to work, thinking she was safe. Foolish, I know. When I pulled into the driveway that evening, something twisted in my gut. Not nerves, not paranoia, just off. The kind of off you only recognize in hindsight. And then the front door opened. Grace stepped out. And I swear to God, for a second, I didn't recognize her. Her hair, her long, perfect, styled hair, was gone. Not trimmed, not cut, hacked. It was short, uneven, jagged. Some pieces hit her chin, others barely grazed her ears. It looked like someone handed a raccoon a pair of gardening shears and let it freestyle. She looked down when she walked toward me, shoulders tight, breathing shallow. "Grace?" I asked, climbing out of the car. What happened?" She tried to smile, tried to be brave. That's the part that killed me. "They cut it," she whispered, and then she burst into tears. My chest cracked open. "They cut it?" I repeated, too stunned to process anything else. She nodded. Her voice was small. "Grandma, and Auntie Sabrina." I wanted to turn to stone, shatter into pieces. I wanted to run inside that house and start flipping tables like I was in a biblical meltdown, but Grace was sobbing. So I knelt down and held her, and she buried her face in my neck and just cried. "Can we go home?" she asked. "We're not going home yet," I said. My voice sounded calm. That scared me more than anything. We walked back toward the house. I kept my hand on her shoulder. I half hoped someone would try to stop me. No one did. Inside, Sabrina was clearing paper plates like she hadn't just destroyed a little girl's trust in humanity. My mother was wiping counters, chatting about leftover cake. The air smelled like frosting and betrayal. I stood in the doorway and said, "What happened to my daughter's hair?" Sabrina didn't even flinch. "We asked her to put it in a ponytail. She refused. So we cut it." I blinked. "You cut it?" "She was being difficult," my mother chimed in. "We gave her a choice." "A choice," I repeated. "So, let me get this straight. You told an 11-year-old to do something she didn't want to do, and when she refused, you punished her by cutting her hair off?" "It's just hair," Sabrina said. No, it wasn't. They kept going. "Bella was crying," Sabrina snapped. She saw Grace's hair and started crying. You think that's fair? You parade your daughter around with that fancy salon hair? Fancy salon hair, I echoed, because now I was in a surrealist nightmare. You know we can't afford that, my mother added. What were you trying to do? Make Bella feel bad? Embarrass us? She was showing off, Sabrina said. You made my daughter feel ugly on her birthday. I stared at them. These people. My own family. Talking like Grace was some rival at a high school prom, not a child with a kind heart who just wanted to give a handmade gift to her cousin. I couldn't feel my hands anymore. My voice was even. I'm taking her home. I didn't wait for a response. Grace was still outside. I took her hand, and we walked back to the car together. She kept wiping her face. I didn't say much. Halfway home, she whispered, Do you think it can be fixed? My throat tightened. We'll make it beautiful again, I said. I promise. She believed me. That's the worst part. She still believed the world could be made right. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I didn't even cry. Not then. I didn't know it yet. But very soon, they would be crying at the police station. People like to talk about first signs, red flags, gut instincts, those little moments when the curtain lifts and you glimpse the truth underneath. I wish I could tell you there was one of those moments in my childhood. A line that was crossed. A slap. A scream. A locked door. Something dramatic. Something cinematic. But no. It was subtler than that. It was soft. It was constant. It was poison disguised as tradition. You don't grow up knowing you're the second-choice daughter. Not immediately. It's more like a slow leak. Something drips and drips and drips. And you don't even realize the ceiling is sagging until the whole thing collapses on your head. My sister Sabrina is 2 years older than me, and for the first 15 years of my life, I didn't question why she always got the nice things, the prettier dresses, the shiny flats, the lip gloss, the compliments. Let your sister wear it. She's older. You don't need mascara yet. You're still a little girl. That top is too mature for you. You don't want people looking at you that way. Never mind that Sabrina and I were practically the same height by 12, or that we went to the same middle school and were mistaken for twins on the regular, or that I never asked for much, just not to be dressed like someone's lost camp counselor every time we went out in public. But it wasn't just the clothes. It was how my parents looked at her, and how they looked through me. I didn't think I was pretty, not back then. I liked video games and books with dragons and messy ponytails that started falling apart the second I left the house. I wasn't trying to be anything, but apparently not trying was the problem. See, there's nothing more threatening to a girl raised to compete for attention than someone who gets it without even asking. Sabrina never said it out loud, not directly, but I saw it in her face. Every time a boy looked at me instead of her, every time someone mistook me for the older sister, every time I made someone laugh without trying, and then she'd do what she always did. Flip the story and make me feel like I had done something wrong. I remember once, I was 14, she was 16. We were getting ready for a family friend's wedding. She stormed into my room in full mascara meltdown mode. Why are you wearing that dress? I blinked. It's the only one that fits me. Did you do something to your hair? No. I washed it. She looked like I'd just committed a felony with Pantene. You know Brandon's going to be there. Brandon, the boy she had a crush on for 4 years, who liked football and math, and apparently me, except I didn't like him. I just talked to him once about a book we both liked. Don't you dare flirt with him. I'm not... What? She slammed the door. Later that night, my mom pulled me aside. Couldn't you have worn something less flashy? Your sister was really upset. The dress was gray. Gray. Over the years, things escalated. Quietly. in ways that didn't leave marks. Sabrina would accidentally hide my makeup bag or forget to tell me the dress code changed for an event. One time, she swapped out my conditioner for shampoo. My hair looked like I styled it with static electricity for a week. But what cut deeper than all of that was how my parents kept backing her. No matter how petty, no matter how obvious. They saw me as the problem. I was difficult. Too proud. Too sensitive. Too much. Fast forward 10 years, and I thought I'd outgrown it. I thought success would solve the imbalance. I worked my way through med school, residency, long hours, no sleep, no one cutting me slack. I bought my own house, married a man who treated me with respect. Radical, I know. I gave my daughter Grace everything I'd never been allowed to have. And I hoped, that maybe that would be enough. Maybe they'd finally see me as my own person. Maybe they'd treat Grace differently. But they didn't. They couldn't. I started to notice it during visits. Grace would come to family dinners in a cute outfit she picked herself, and my mother would purse her lips. "Don't you think that skirt's a bit much for a little girl?" "She's 11, I'd say. Sabrina would make passive-aggressive comments in front of Bella. "Wow, Grace, that's a lot of hair for someone your age." "Do you always wear makeup, even to school?" Grace wasn't wearing makeup. She had clear lip gloss and glitter clips, but the tone was always the same. Don't stand out. Don't shine. Don't make Bella look dull by comparison. And Bella, poor thing, absorbed all of it. She mimicked her mother's jealousy like it was gospel. Once, after a family barbecue, I caught her in the hallway with Grace. I didn't hear everything, just the tail end. "You think you're so special just because your mom lets you go to the salon?" Grace didn't tell me what was said, but she looked small, smaller than usual. The thing is, I didn't realize how deep it ran. I didn't realize that the same silent rules applied, the same games, the same threats hidden in smiles, until the birthday, until I saw Grace walk out of that house with her hair hacked off, until I heard the words leave her mouth. They cut it. That was when it all clicked. It wasn't about disobedience or discipline or some childish misunderstanding. It was punishment for being beautiful, for shining, for standing out when she was supposed to stay quiet. They saw in Grace the thing they'd hated in me, and they came for her. I thought I had escaped it, that the worst of it was behind me, but I didn't realize I had just walked her, my daughter, straight into the same trap I grew up in. She said it while I was pouring tea. They held me down, just like that. No build-up, no tears, just those 4 words, flat and quiet, like she was telling me the weather report. Grace sat at the kitchen table in her hoodie, legs tucked up under her, staring at nothing. I stopped mid-pour. "What?" "They held me down," she repeated. "I told them no." Aunt Sabrina pushed me into the chair, and Grandma said, "It's just hair. Stop making a scene." And then they cut it. I didn't speak. I was too busy clenching the teapot like I could squeeze justice out of it. "They were laughing," she added. Grandpa said I needed to be humbled. Bella was filming me. So was Connor. He said he was going to send it to the group chat. She blinked. "I don't even know what group chat." I sat down, slowly, because if I didn't sit, I was going to break something. "They filmed it?" She nodded. Connor had his tablet. He was holding it up the whole time. I think he thought it was funny. Of course he did. "And no one stopped them?" Grandpa was eating cake. Bella told them to get the front too. I stared at her. She looked so small in that chair, smaller than she'd ever looked in her life. And that was the moment everything inside me turned cold. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was ready. "Grace," I said, "what they did to you wasn't just wrong. It was illegal." She looked up. Really? Yeah. It's called assault. They touched your body without permission. They restrained you. They cut your hair, your identity, your autonomy, while you were crying. That's not just hair. That's a crime. She looked down again. I felt like it. Well, that's because you were right. I paused. Do you want to report it? She blinked. To the police? Yes. If you say no, we won't. But if you say yes, I'll take you today. She didn't answer right away. She picked at a loose thread on her sleeve. Then, yeah, let's do it. I told her we'd need proof. Grace tilted her head like I'd forgotten something obvious. Connor filmed the whole thing. I raised an eyebrow. You sure? He was standing right in front of me. It was like a YouTube vlog. I handed her my phone. You want to ask him? She didn't even hesitate. She pulled up his name, typed, Hey Connor, I know you filmed it. Can you send me the video? 30 seconds later, he responded, LOL, okay, just like that. No shame, no suspicion. Just a laughing emoji and a video file. We watched it together. It wasn't long, maybe 12 seconds, but that's all it took. There was Grace crying, saying, No, please, no, while Sabrina grabbed a fistful of her hair. My mother stood behind them, arms folded like she was watching someone fold laundry. My father sat on the couch with a plastic fork in his hand and said, She'll thank you later. Connor was laughing. Bella shouted, Do the front next! Grace didn't say a word as she watched. Her face was blank. When the video ended, she looked at me. Can we go now? We went straight to the station. No stalling, no dramatic montage. I didn't even change my clothes. Grace was still in her hoodie. I was still wearing yesterday's makeup. None of it mattered. They assigned us to a detective named Alvarez, mid-40s, practical haircut, kind eyes that didn't blink when we told her what happened. Grace handed over the video like a professional. Alvarez plugged in headphones and watched it. Twice. She said very little. But the way her expression changed, tightening, then sharpening, then flattening into quiet disgust, told me everything I needed to know. We're opening a formal case, she said. You did the right thing coming in. Grace stayed composed the whole time. She answered questions. She asked a few of her own. When Alvarez mentioned that a child advocate would be present for her follow-up interview, Grace nodded like she'd just been given the lead role in a school play. She wasn't trembling anymore. She was angry. By the time we got back to the car, Grace was buzzing. Not with joy, God no, but with something sharper, lighter, like the weight of silence had finally been lifted off her. What happens now? She asked. I told her the truth. There'd be paperwork, a follow-up, maybe a court case, maybe protective orders. It wouldn't be easy. She nodded. Good. That one word gave me chills. That night, the phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but I knew the voice. Are you insane? My mother's voice hit me like a slap. She didn't even say hello. You went to the police? You actually called the police? Over hair? She didn't wait for me to respond. You're going to ruin everything. Do you understand that? You're going to destroy this family. Is that what you want? I let her rant, let her shout, let her pour every drop of her fear and fury through the line. And then, when she finally stopped to breathe, I said, You should have thought of that before you assaulted my child. Dead silence. We didn't assault anyone. It was a haircut. No. It was control. It was humiliation. It was violence. And now, it's evidence. Another beat of silence. Then, You're not thinking clearly. You need to calm down. Tell that to the detective. I hung up, and I didn't feel guilty. Not for a second. And it wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. When my phone rang the next morning, I was already holding a cup of coffee and a grudge. It was Sabrina. "CPS was at our house," she said, voice cracking. "They showed up this morning, Danielle, unannounced. They wanted to see Bella's room. They asked if we had scissors lying around." I stayed silent, stirred my coffee. Let the silence speak for me. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she whispered. "You actually went through with it? You pressed charges?" "No," I said. "I just reported what you did. The rest? That's on you." "It's hair, Danielle." There it was. Again. That same old tune. Just hair. Just fun. Just sisters. Just childhood. "No," I said. "It's holding down a crying child and cutting her body without consent, and filming it, and mocking her. If that's what you call parenting, I'd be worried too." She tried to switch tactics, begged me to retract the report. "You're tearing the family apart," she said, voice breaking. "You've made this so public. I could lose my kids." "You should have thought about that," I said, "before you touched mine." I hung up. No goodbye. No explanation. Just the click of a boundary locking into place. I should have known they wouldn't stop there. That afternoon, someone sent me screenshots. There they were, my parents and Sabrina, posting on Facebook, spinning their own version of the truth like it was a school talent show. "It was a game! Grace said she wanted a makeover. Danielle is being unstable again. She has a history of overreacting. We love Grace. We were bonding." Bonding? Is that what we're calling it now? Bonding by force? One comment actually said, "I've known Danielle for years, and she's always been obsessed with appearances. It's sad she's weaponizing her daughter like this." "Oh, really? Brenda from church? That's your takeaway?" I showed the post to Grace. She scrolled through the comments, her mouth tightening. "They're lying," she said softly. "I know. They're getting away with it." I looked at her. "Not if we tell the truth." Then I paused. "Would you be okay if I posted the video?" She looked up at me, not like a scared kid, but like someone who was done being made to feel small. "Please, post it." So I did. No long caption. No rant. Just this. This is what they call a game. This is my 11-year-old daughter crying while they hold her down and cut her hair. She said no. They laughed. And then I attached the video. It exploded. The same people who had been calling me dramatic in the morning were tagging me with apologies by the evening. "I take it back. This is horrifying. Why is that kid laughing while she's crying? This is assault. Full stop. I'd press charges too. What the hell?" Even the original commenters who doubted me started deleting their replies. Funny how fast moral clarity can show up when there's footage. Grace sat next to me while we watched the view count tick up. I glanced at her. She was smiling. Not a full grin, but the kind that says, "They see me now. I'm not invisible anymore." 2 days later, I got a text from my dad. "Hey, your rent transfer didn't come through this month. Was there an issue?" I stared at it for a second. Then I typed, "No issue. I'm just not paying for people who laughed while my daughter begged them to stop." A pause. Then, "Come on, Danielle. You're really cutting us off over a haircut?" And there it was again. The deflection, the denial, the inability to call anything by its real name. "Yes," I wrote back, "because it wasn't a haircut. It was an assault. And because when you had a chance to say this was wrong, you chose to lie about it on Facebook. Also, if you ever try to contact Grace again, I will report it." Another pause. Then, "Wow, guess money means more to you than family." I didn't reply, not because I didn't have a dozen things I wanted to say, but because I don't argue with people who confuse consequences with betrayal. Later that week, Grace and I went back to the salon. The stylist I booked was warm, gentle, and knew exactly how to handle hair that had been butchered by family drama and kitchen scissors. She didn't try to make it long again. She didn't use words like fix. Instead, she leaned down to Grace and said, "Let's make this yours." An hour later, Grace was looking at herself in the mirror, touching the new shape of her hair. She tilted her head and smiled. "I look awesome!" And you know what? She did. The following week, Grace gave her full statement at the station. She walked in like she owned the building. No tears, no hesitation. She answered every question clearly. When they asked how it made her feel, she said, "Like they thought I didn't matter." When they asked why she was reporting it, she said, "Because I do." I sat there with my hands clasped in my lap, listening to my daughter reclaim every inch of her voice. When we got to the car, I asked, "Do you ever want to see them again?" She didn't even look at me. "No, never." I nodded. "Then you won't. You get to choose who's in your life now, and who's not." A month passed. The case went through. None of them went to jail. I didn't expect they would, but it stuck. It mattered. My mother, my father, and Sabrina were all convicted of misdemeanor assault. They each got a criminal record. They each had to pay a fine. But Sabrina got the worst of it, as she should have. She was ordered to complete a full parenting course. CPS would be monitoring their household for the next year. I heard from someone that Tyler threatened to leave her. Their vacation got canceled. The stress was eating them alive. And I didn't feel bad, not even a little. Grace still doesn't want to see them. She doesn't want any of them near her. Not at school events. Not at birthdays. Not at all. And I listen to that. Every time. Because I know now, respecting her choices isn't just healing, it's power. And they took enough of hers already. Not anymore. So, did I go too far? Or not nearly far enough? Some people said I overreacted. That I should have kept it in the family. That it was just hair. And maybe they'd be right. If they weren't talking about my 11-year-old being held down, humiliated, and violated by the people who were supposed to protect her. Maybe justice looked quieter to them. But to me, justice looked like my daughter walking into a salon with her head held high. Justice looked like her knowing that someone, finally, would fight for her. Still, I wonder, should I have gone further? Cut them out sooner? Dragged them in court until the ink dried on their guilt? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, raw and just a little bit satisfying, hit subscribe.